Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'll be covering the weather for September 26th of 2023, and currently we have two main regions that we're going to go over in today's forecast. However, we do have a secondary location that I likely will not go over in today's forecast. We have this marginal threat that does include northern and southern Illinois into parts of eastern Illinois and Indiana, as well as this marginal threat for southern New Mexico into western Texas. But we also do have this marginal threat for northern Florida into parts of southern Georgia that I likely will not go over in today's forecast, as it does have a very minimal threat for today. The only threat that we're expected to see from this marginal threat is going to be a 5% wind threat. As for our various threats, we do have a 2% tornado threat for the northern part of that marginal threat for the Midwest, as well as for our wind threat. We do have a 5% for the southern area of that marginal threat, as well as a 5% for the marginal threat for the southwestern United States. And as for our hail threat, we do have a 5% hail threat for the marginal threat for the Midwest into the Ohio River Valley, as well as a 5% hail threat for the southwestern United States. Taking a look at a radar Omega model, starting off with our 500 millibars, focusing on the marginal threat for the Midwest into the Ohio River Valley, we have a shortwave trough that we've been tracking from last week. We are seeing the remains of the trough that triggered severe thunderstorms across the Central Plains and Midwest last week, and we are expected to see this continue triggering severe thunderstorms today and tomorrow with this marginal threat. We do have that shortwave that is attached to it, and you can see that we do have quite a bit of varying of the winds with this shortwave trough, so we are definitely expected to see a little bit of directional shear to support the threat of one or two brief tornadoes for that 2% tornado threat, as well as we could also see some elongated photographs from this to support the threat of small hail across this region, as well as the threat of damaging winds. And if we take a look at the marginal threat for southern New Mexico into western Texas, we are expected to see a little bit of trough advection across the Rocky Mountains. We are expected to see a little bit of lee troughing across this region, as well as a little bit of orographic elongated photographs to support a 5% hail threat and the threat of small hail across this region. Then if we take a look at the marginal threat for Florida, we still have this very weak jet coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. This is expected to trigger severe thunderstorms today as well as yesterday. However, overall, this jet out of the Gulf of Mexico is very, very weak, so we are expected to see very limited organization from this, and really only support the threat of a 5% wind threat from this for today. Taking a look at our dew points, focusing on the marginal threat for the Midwest into the Ohio River Valley first, you can see that we do have quite a bit of moisture across this region. It is going to be fairly moderate, though. We are expected to see dew points are going to be ranging anywhere from the low 50s into the upper 40s, as high as the low and mid 60s. So we should see some moderate instability for this. We shouldn't really see extreme amounts of instability with this type of moisture. However, we could definitely see some moderate to weak and instability across this region. Then if we take a look at the marginal threat for New Mexico and western Texas, we are expected to see a little bit more desert-like dew points as we are in the southwest. We are expected to see dew points that are going to be getting anywhere from the 30s into the mid 50s, which will definitely be able to support some moderate instability here as well. We may be able to see some low 60s across some parts of western Texas. However, overall widespread, we should see mainly 50 dew points, which will lead to overall weaker and instability to possibly moderate instability. So we should see fairly similar instability in both locations. Taking a look at our temperatures, focusing on Texas first, you can see that we are expected to have a little bit cooler temperatures across Texas and a vast majority of the southern United States. We are expected to see temperatures that were getting into the mid and upper 90s yesterday. However, that has cooled significantly down to more 90 temperatures that are going to be getting into the lower 90s. It is going to be fairly hot across this region. However, it is expected to be a little bit cooler, probably due to some of the storms that we've had the last couple of days. Then if you take a look at the Pacific Northwest and the Western United States, we are expected to continue to see below average temperatures across the Western United States, as we did have this large area of where we were expected to see temperatures that were going to be below average, as we especially at night we are expected to see temperatures that are going to be getting as low as the 30s and the 40s across some regions across the Pacific Northwest. That includes Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Washington, Wyoming, and Colorado. More so, it's more so noticeable in those states. However, again, we are expected to have a little bit of cooling across Texas, but we are also expected to continuing to see below average temperatures across the Western United States. Taking a look at our instability, focusing on the southwestern United States first, you can see that we are expected to have quite a bit of instability across southern New Mexico and western Texas, a little bit more than I previously thought. We are expected to see Cape values are going to be getting as high as the low 2000s, but overall we are expected to see Cape values are going to be getting into the widespread upper 1000s and low 2000s, which will definitely be able to support the threat of small hail across that region with some of the weak orographic elongated photographs that we have. But then if we take a look at the marginal threat for the Midwest into the Ohio River Valley, we are expected to have some weaker instability. We are expected to see Cape values are going to be getting as low as the triple digits and as high as some of the upper 1000s, possibly the low 2000s in some regions. However, we are expected to see widespread Cape values are going to be mostly in the 1000s to triple digits. So overall, the instability across this region is going to be a little bit more on the weaker side. However, this instability should be able to still support the threat of damaging winds, small hail, as well as that 2% tornado threat in the north with some of the directional shear that we have. Taking a look at our energy helicity index, focusing on the 2% tornado threat for northern Illinois into parts of eastern Iowa. Overall, we are expected to have some energy helicity, some spotty energy helicity index regions or readings across this region. They are again expected to be pretty spotty. They are expected to be pretty weak as well. They are expected to be mostly in the 1 point, anywhere from 1 to getting into the 2s. However, overall they are expected to be pretty weak and pretty spotty, but it should be enough to support a 2% tornado threat and maybe some spin up in the atmosphere, as well as support the threat of 1 or 2 brief tornadoes. However, overall, this 2% tornado threat may be a little bit more on the lower end. A lot of our directional shear was going to be fairly questionable, as more of our mid-level flow was going to be more weak back towards this region. Our shortwave trough was expected to be a little bit more down to the south, but we may be able to see a little bit of spin up in the atmosphere and possibly a weak threat for 1 or 2 brief tornadoes across this region. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator, and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. If you live in any of the areas that I covered for today, please stay weather alert for the time being, and hopefully I will be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.